spirit of self-destruction. Bending slavishly under the heavy gusts, each shabby blade of grass by the roadside rose again and was on the qui-vive after the rustling tyrant had passed. It was then, in the succeeding moments of comparative peace, when the directors of the passionate aerial revolt had managed to call their panting rabble off for the time, that great perpendicular sheets of rain, like stage films slung evenly from heavenly temples, descended and began moving continuously sideways like a wall across the level track. A sheet of whole water, blotting out the tangled borders of herbage that grew sparsely round the heaps of stones with which the margin was set at intervals, placed there ready for breaking. When the slab of rain had moved on again, the broad road, shining out sturdily with its embedded quartz and milky kneaded clay, lay clear once more. Calm, ordered and tranquil in the midst of tumult and discord, it pursued its appointed course, edging off from its evenly bevelled sides the noisy moorland streams that had come jostling each other in their haste to reach it, only to be relegated, noisily complaining, to the swollen, unrecognisable gutter. At a certain point on the line of way, a tall, spare, respectable-looking man in a well-fitting grey frock coat stood waiting. The rain ran down the back of his coat collar and dripped off the rim of his tall hat. His attitude suggested some weary, foredone clerk waiting at the corner of the city street for the omnibus that was to carry him home to his slippered comfort and sober pipe of peace. He wore no muffler, but then it was summer, St. John's Eve. He leant on an ivory-headed ebony stick of which he seemed fond, and peered, not very eagerly, along the road, which now lay in dazzling rain-washed clarity under the struggling moon. There was a lull in the storm. He had no luggage, no umbrella, yet his grey coat looked neat and his hat shiny. Far in the distance, from the south, a black, clumsy object appeared, labouring slowly along. It was a coach of heavy and antique pattern. As soon as he had sighted it, the passenger's faint interest seemed diminished. With a bored air of fulfilment, he dropped his eyes and looked down disapprovingly at the clayey mud at his feet, although indeed the sticky substance did not appear to have marred the exquisite polish of his shoes. His palm settled composedly on the ivory knob of his trusty stick, as though it were the hand of an old friend. With all the signs of difficult going, but no noise of straining or grinding, the coach at last drew up in front of the expectant passenger. He looked up quietly and recognised it as the vehicle wherein it was appointed that he should travel in this unsuitable weather, for a stage or two, maybe. All was correct. The coachman grave, businesslike, headless as of usage. The horses long-tailed, black, conventional. The door opened noiselessly, and the step was let down. The passenger shook his head as he delicately put his foot onto it, and observed, for the benefit doubtless of the person or persons inside, "I see old Joe on the box in his official trim. Rather unnecessary, all this ceremony, I venture to think. A few yokels and old women to impress, if indeed anyone not positively obliged is abroad on a night like this. For form's sake, I suppose." He took his seat next the window. There were 4 occupants of the coach beside himself. They all nodded formally, but not unkindly. He returned their salutations with old-fashioned courtesy, though unacquainted, seemingly, with any of them. Sitting next to him was a woman evidently of fashion. Her heavy and valuable furs were negligently cast on one side to show a plastron covered with jewels. She wore at least 2 enamelled and jewel-encrusted watches pinned to her bosom as a mark for thieves to covet. It was foolish of her. So at least thought the man in the grey frock coat. Her yellow wig was much awry. Her eyes were weak, strained and fearful.